What's going on, guys? Roma the Roamer here. Today, I am joined with Larry, aka Watch Me Amazon, and this is a very impressive individual. He went from working two people out of an apartment to now selling over 8 figures on Amazon. So if that wasn't impressive enough, this guy went from literally like in 2012 working out of his apartment to now he's got two warehouses selling 8 figures every year. If that wasn't impressive enough, he also built a massive social media following, got recognized on the Gary Vee show. Welcome, guys, Larry, to the show. I'm going to go ahead and cut to the intro, and then me and Larry are going to talk all about wholesale. We're going to break down how to start from beginning because I don't know anything about wholesale. So we're going to start, how could I get in wholesale if I wanted to? And then we're going to talk about some more advanced things. So I do know a little bit. My roommate's been messing around with wholesale, so I have a little bit more advanced questions when it comes down to buy box issues, pricing errors, things like that. So stay tuned, guys. Welcome, Larry, to the show.
Dope sells like the charge do, but selling's all about potential. And money speaks, then I'm the main now. I give a damn about the intro. The chain hangs in the building, just to let them know the neck one.
Welcome, Larry. What's going on? Hold on, let me put you on the screen real quick. There we go. Try not to
I was bobbing my head to the intro. I'm feeling it, man. It's nice.
My buddy made that song.
Thanks for having me on the show, bro. I appreciate all the nice, kind things you said to me. I know we've been following each other on social for a little bit of a while, so I see you hustling, even though it's in a different lane of Amazon with the book hustle. It is still the hustle, or a hustle nonetheless. It is not easy. So from one seller to another, I respect what you do. I am happy to be here, and I will give as much value as I can. Hopefully some of your viewers or followers of this video will hopefully get some good takeaways from it.
Yeah, I think they will. I'm very inspired by what you've done. And not only just because you've built a massive Amazon business, but because you've built a social media following as well. And I think people look at the latter, building a social media following, as something very easy to do when it's not. And you make it look effortless.
So, I mean, I will say something about that. So I'm kind of a tough critic on myself as far as how I've been able to build Watch Me Amazon and how far it's come. So I think compared to some of the other more savvy social media people out there, I haven't really built it up that fast or as big or really fulfilled its full potential, in my opinion. I know some people start out and they get to like 50, 60, 100,000 followers like that, or they have these kind of hacks, or they run ads, or they buy shout outs. While the number that I have, I think it's something like 65,000 followers, sounds like super impressive. I think I started Watch Me Amazon in the beginning of 2017, maybe even late 2016. So when you think that it's been 3 going on 4 years now, it's a nice number. It's not super impressive. There's obviously people that will blow me out of the water in that regard. But yeah, I love posting about what I do. And the last 3-4 years documenting a little bit of my journey has been, awesome and amazing.
100%. So when you started out, did you document your journey from day one?
No. So like I started selling, as you mentioned in the intro, it was in 2012. And I started doing Amazon then, but I was still working for someone else. And the way that Amazon was taught to me, or the way that you should do it, or the way that you should approach your business, is to keep everything very close to the chest. I was told, don't tell people what you do for a living. Don't tell people what you sell. Don't really talk about it. Keep everything very DL, because God forbid someone finds out what you're doing and they're going to start doing the same thing and it's going to affect you. And God forbid, that's going to be the end of everything. So that was kind of the way I was taught. Keep everything very close to the vest. Keep everything DL. And sometime in 2016, I was online. I found out about this guy, Gary Vee. I was watching some of his videos, and there was one particular video where he said, it's very hard to create content, but if you're just documenting what you're already doing, your regular day-to-day life, basically his message was document, don't create. It's much easier. You'll get much further. And then a light bulb went off over my head, and the light bulb was, is there possibly anyone who's doing the same thing that I'm doing, selling on Amazon, selling wholesale? Is there anyone else documenting this kind of stuff? So I went on YouTube, I went on Instagram, I went on Twitter. I started searching for all these, if anyone was documenting their Amazon journey. And I noticed that there was a lot of people documenting it, but 99.9% of everyone was just talking about private label back in those times. There was literally no one mentioning wholesale at all whatsoever. And then I had the idea kind of that it would be good to document my hustle, my process, teach people a little bit about the wholesale side of the business. There was no one really doing it at the time. So I figured that would be a good opportunity to start doing that, build a nice following, carve out a little niche for myself. And yeah, that's kind of how it started. And it's been amazing to see over the last 3.5, 4 years now. I was pretty much one of the very, very first people talking about wholesale. And now there's just a slew of very qualified, very smart, very, very big, successful wholesale sellers, all documenting their journey in different ways, all providing value in different ways. And it's just been a net positive, not only for the whole Amazon seller community, but for me as well. Because one of the things that I did realize right at around the time when I started watching Amazon, again, before 2016, it was keep everything very DL, don't tell anyone about everything. But right at the time that I started finding other people talking about Amazon on social, I started joining some of the big Amazon FBA Facebook groups. And I didn't even know these groups existed prior to that. And really, when I started following other people on social media, joining the big Facebook groups, networking, talking, learning from other sellers, seeing how this guy's doing it differently, seeing how that guy is doing it differently. In those years, when I started following people online and joining these networking groups, I learned so much more in that time than all the time prior to when I was keeping everything very close to the vest. And, that led me to believe that it's always better to share. You're always going to learn a lot more, and your business is going to excel when you network with other people. It doesn't matter if they're smaller than you, if they're bigger than you, there's always a lot to be learned. And Facebook groups and social and networking with people is probably the number one best way to learn or to level up your Amazon business, because there's a lot of really good dudes out there that share what they do.
Yeah. And so it's helped you, obviously, because you've learned from people. Has it helped you in actual networking in terms of helping your wholesale business? Has it helped your wholesale business in terms of you have a connection that you didn't have before, or maybe you get to work with a certain seller, maybe they let you know certain ASINs or something that are good? Has it helped you in that sense?
So no one really is going to share their specific ASINs of what they sell.
I was going to have you share all your ASINs on the show.
Yeah, I know a lot of people message me often and say, hey, I run a wholesale company. I have these kind of products for you, those kind of products for you. To be honest, I don't really pay attention to that. But what I have learned and what I have implemented in my business, and what has 100% improved my business successfully, is learning from different guys that do wholesale, learning from even smaller sellers, just being a part of the community. Every day you learn something new, you hear something new, you hear a new strategy. So for sure, just being a part of that, I've learned probably more in the 2 years, in the first year even, or 2 years that I was a part of these groups and networking. I've learned more tricks, more tactics, more strategies, learned all about the different software tools that I just had no idea about, that I've implemented in my business and that have helped me grow my business substantially, that if I wasn't just part of the Amazon community overall at large, I wouldn't know about these things. When I first started out, I didn't know what the hell Keepa was, which is probably the most important tool out there for an Amazon seller. And if I kept playing everything very close to the vest and not working with other people, I wouldn't know about Keepa. I wouldn't know about all the different Amazon tools out there. I wouldn't know about all the different strategies out there. So that is the number one way to learn and to grow your business, in my opinion. Network with other sellers, ask a lot of questions. And it doesn't matter if you're an 8-figure seller or if you're a 5-figure seller. It's the best way to keep your finger on the pulse with what's going on Amazon and just continuously grow your business.
Gotcha. So
And
you start.
I will say to answer your question more directly, there has been some hard to open accounts with brands that I kind of try to leverage my Watch Me Amazon brand or my
Nice.
YouTube channel, and I'll reach out to them and say, hey, this is who I am. You know, I eat, sleep, and shit this business. I have a YouTube channel. I have, you know, I'm a
That's cool.
professional expert in the space, and I try to leverage that, and it has worked fairly well in some cases. In other cases, it hasn't, but it's all part of the business.
Send him a picture of you with Gary Vee.
Yeah, that seems to work sometimes.
So you started. Okay, you started out basically when you're in the apartment. You said two guys on the website. It says you and someone else started the business.
That's when I started working for myself, and that's when I started my own business. Before that, from about 2012 to 2015, I was dead broke, living back home with my mom, just left a career in finance that I didn't do very well in at all. So I was in a very, very bad spot, and I was just looking for a regular 9-to-5 job to help me pay back some of the debt, to help keep me afloat so I can, you know, keep my cell phone bill and whatnot. So I was just looking for a regular 9-to-5 job. A childhood friend of mine at that time had a optical store, a brick and mortar optical store, and an actual website where they were selling some of these glasses on their website, and they were selling these glasses on eBay. And he offered me just a regular 9-to-5 customer service job at his optical store and website, picking up the phone, dealing with customers, doing customer service. And right at that time, he told me, listen, we're also selling these glasses on eBay. I need someone to run, manage, grow the eBay business for us. If you want to do that in your spare time, nights and weekends, we'll provide the knowledge and the products, and you sell it, and we'll split the profit 3 ways, because he had another partner at the time. So I had my 9-to-5 job. I was making, I think, like $400 or $500 a week. Nights and weekends, I was listing frames like crazy, selling them on eBay, getting a little commission. And it also turns out that this friend of mine had an Amazon business in the US. So he also owned the beauty salon, and he had a wholesale beauty business on Amazon, where he would take the products that he would have from his vendors, shampoos, beauty products, blow dryers, all of that kind of stuff, do the research, cross-list those products on Amazon. And he was building a very nice business for himself in the early days of Amazon FBA. And then again, he came to me and he said, listen, I know you're working very hard. You're very hungry. You need to make loot. What do you think about, we want to expand and do Amazon wholesale overseas in Europe. We need someone to run the business for us, take care of the day-to-day. Do you want to do that during the nights, during the weekends? We'll give you a split of the profits, if there are any profits. I said, hell yeah. He showed me how the business works, like the basic A to Z. Here's how you research a product. Here's how you list it. Amazon fees. Here's our cost. Here's our product. Get to work. And I spent the first 2, maybe even more, 2.5 years in the business, building from scratch a European Amazon FBA wholesale business, taking it from 0 sales to high 7 figures in sales. Eventually, I was making more in commissions on Amazon and with the eBay business than I would in the regular 9-to-5 working with him. So eventually, maybe like a year sometime down the road, I quit that, and I was just full-time running this individual's Amazon UK business, getting 1/3 of the commissions, and just started after, like, you know, putting my head down and hustling for probably what was a little over a year, making really, really.
And are you in America the whole time you're running this? Wow.
Running it from America, shipping products on pallets overseas to the UK. Same concept as in the US. He was just already doing the US. He had that taken care of. He wanted to expand into Europe. Obviously, there's only so much one person can do. So he wanted someone to kind of run the show. Taught me a little bit about it, put me in that position. I excelled at it, and it got to a point where the European business that I built, in terms of profit, it was blowing his US business out of the water. And oftentimes, as unfortunately happens, not all the times, but oftentimes when friends work together, there oftentimes tends to be disagreements, beefs, issues. One person tries to fuck over another person, what have you. And me and this guy had a falling out, and I quit. And then that's when, right around 2015, it was right around 2014, maybe 2015, when I started my own business where I was working for myself, and I left him and I had to start again from scratch with my own business. That's when it was just me and a partner in an apartment building. But at that point, I have already developed all the knowledge, all the
Is the partner
experience.
equity, or were you just more paying him?
No, it was equity. So,
Okay.
When I was working for the first guy, I was making good money, but I was in like $100,000 in debt. So all my money was going to pay down my debt. Then I got married at the time.
How did you acquire that debt again? Was that school?
So when I was a struggling stockbroker for about 10 years, I had like back taxes that I owed a lot. I would borrow, because I was making like virtually no money at all and still needed to live. I would borrow money from my wife's grandmother, for my girlfriend's grandmother, my friends. I owed one of my friends $25,000, and I owed another one of my friends $20,000, because I was just kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul, borrowing from this guy to pay back that guy. Because I was, as a broker, there was like a stint in time for like 4 or 5 years before I, fell into Amazon, that I was struggling and that I was making absolutely no loot. So, when I finally got on my feet and was able to pay off all my debt, move out of my mom's house, get married, have a nice wedding. I didn't have like a big, pot financially to fall back on. I didn't have that much money. I had spent all my money getting back on my feet, but I had the knowledge and experience and the expertise and the desire and the hustle to start my own Amazon business, because I was pushed out of my former Amazon business by my boss. And that's why I needed to take on a partner who had equity. He was going to fund the business. I had the knowledge. I knew what to do. He didn't, but he had the funds necessary to make the business run. And they were also coming in as a working partner. So they were going to put up the capital, and they weren't just going to give me the money and expect a cut. They were going to put up the capital, and they were going to work full time on the business with me. So that's kind of how we started.
Gotcha. And what was your roadmap? Like when you first started, what did you like? Was the path how you thought it was going to be? Like after leaving that first deal you did with that guy, where you kind of were working with him and learned a lot of the ropes of this business, were you able to did you already have something in your mind where you're like, okay, I'm going to do this, 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 and this? Because you know how it is. Like you're probably like, I can just be doing all this myself instead of working for this guy and making him rich. And you probably I did do this myself. Did you already have that kind of mapped out?
So for the record, I was super happy working with these people. They put me on. I would have been happy working with them, for them, to this day. So it wasn't like I got greedy and decided to go do it on my own. I was super happy. They tried to fuck me over, and now I'm in I'm back in a shitty position without a lot of loot, and they keep trying to fuck me over, and they keep, lowering my commission from a 2-way split to a 3-way split to a 5-way split. So they kind of pushed me out of the business. The roadmap that I had was, when I decided to go it on, alone, go it on my own, I had all these supplier relationships that I had built up. I had in my head a list of hundreds of products that I can buy and start selling today. And I have the knowledge and I know how to do it. I just don't have the capital. So my roadmap was, hey, I know the Amazon business. Here's how it works. I have all of these products, good products, profitable products that we can buy and start selling today. I just need a capital investor, because I don't have the 40, 50, 100 grand necessary to buy all those products that I knew would work. Now, had I not gotten that investment, I would have done the same thing. It would have taken me longer, because I would have started the business with the $5,000 that I had, or the $10,000 when I had. But I legit at that time had probably 50 to 100 grand of products, potential products to buy, ready to go. So it made more sense to have someone who was going to come in with capital, do the work, throw the gasoline on the fire, and just scale out the business. And the rest was history. We started in, I think it was 2015. I don't remember the exact date off my top of my head, but I remember it was when our first shipment out to the UK was when Mayweather fought Pacquiao. I think that was early 2015. And yeah, the rest is history. And as far as the roadmap, I mean, the roadmap on Amazon is super simple. Find more suppliers. That leads to more products. More products leads to more profits. And it is a very simple business. And I think one of the reasons why people are drawn to selling on Amazon, the roadmap and the strategies and the business itself is super simple. It's not, rocket science. It's not super complicated, and that attracts a lot of people to want to be selling. But I think the one thing that a lot of people in the space don't talk about, even though it's simple, the business is not easy, man. It is hard as fuck, and a majority of the people who start selling are probably not going to get to 7-8 figures. They're probably not going to have this life-changing story. And it's not because, Amazon by itself is very hard. It's just any legitimate business that anyone is going to open is hard. And I think there's like a statistic out there that 80 or 90% of new businesses fail in the first year or two, whatever that statistic is. And Amazon just falls into that category. You know what I'm saying? It's not easy to build a profitable business in any field, be it Amazon, be it e-commerce, be it you want to open up a restaurant, you want to open up a clothing brand, whatever it is.
What do you think the biggest bottleneck is? Do you think it's like lack of capital? Do you think it's lack of emotional energy? Do you think it's like lack of discipline? Is it like the simple stuff, like not making your bed in the morning, or is it more?
I just honestly think like Gary Vee. I honestly think like Gary Vee would say, entrepreneurship is a business for entrepreneurs, and not everyone it just has it in them, or not everyone is born. Not everyone is that special kind of person who is going to be an entrepreneur. And that's what it takes to succeed in an own business or on Amazon. There are just people out there who are better off working regular jobs, and that's okay. There's nothing bad with that. There's jobs that pay, 90 grand a year, 100 grand a year. There's jobs that pay 250 grand a year, 350 grand.
Perfect. I actually have a question written down. I wrote down, who is this business not for? Like, what personality traits does someone have where you're instant, like, don't even try to get in?
Yeah, so you need to have entrepreneurial type personality. You should get into the business. And again, this goes back to the point of me making that it's not an easy business. It's easy in theory, but it's hard in practice. This business is for people that A, realize it's a hard business, B, realize it's going to take a lot of hard work, a lot of effort, a lot of patience, and C, speaking on that patience, this business is for people who understand that they're going to need to work hard for 8, 10, 12 months plus before they really start to get real results. Because, again, I have a program, I have a course. It'll be a lot easier for me to sell my course by telling people Amazon is super easy. Get into it 3 months down the road. We're all fucking throwing $100 bills up in the air. It's not like that. But if you have the patience and you have the desire to work your face off for the next 12 months, and you have that entrepreneurial mindset or personality type, then the chances of you succeeding, if you're patient, if you can struggle and suck balls, so to speak, building your business for 12 months out, then the chances of you succeeding are exponentially higher. But if you're someone who wants those instant results, and you're going to get frustrated 4 months down the road when you're opening dozens of accounts and you don't have, a tremendous amount of products and you're not taking any money out of the business, and you're going to give up 3, 4, 5 months from now, that's who it's not for.
Gotcha.
And of course, it takes capital. You asked about capital. Obviously, the wholesale business in particular, it takes money to make money. People ask me, how much do I need to start with? I say 3,000 to 5,000 capital at a minimum, but that's not like a good amount. That's bare bones minimum. People have started with 3 grand. People have started with 2 grand or even less, and they have eventually became successful. But the more the merrier in this business, and probably 10, 20 is a nicer number to start with.
Gotcha. Okay. So if you had to give advice, like a younger version of you, or someone who's like hyper ambitious, not like the average viewer, and this person just wants to scale their business, and they're like, look, I want to be at 8 figures like you. I want to do whatever it takes to make it work. Would you recommend that person go out and find sources for capital, whether it's like an investor or some other form of obtaining the capital, maybe even a partner?
So, you know what it is? So a lot of people come to the table, and, a lot of people have approached me with partnerships, or a lot of people have approached me with big pockets and said, look, I have $500,000 ready to go. You don't need the capital, even though, it takes money to make money. And when you're starting a wholesale business, the more you have, the better. But you don't need the capital first. You need to find the products first. So if you have $500,000 in cash that you're just sitting on, but you don't have any good accounts, or you don't have any good products to buy, that money is useless. You know what I mean? So you need to open the accounts, have the products first. When you find good potential products that you want to buy and that you want to sell, of course, you need the capital to have it. But if someone was new and starting the business and they had, just throwing out a number out there, they had $500,000 to sitting on. The hard part is finding $500,000 worth of really good products to buy and sell. That's the hard part. Probably even harder than getting the capital. So find the products first. If you get to a point where you start with $10,000 or $5,000 and you open good accounts and you find a good, couple of good products and you spend your money, and then you have more products that you would be buying if you had the money, that's when you need to go out and get the money. But you don't need to get the capital first before you can acquire the actual products.
So you need to build that skill of acquiring products. And you can do that just with a couple $1,000. Like you said, $3,000. Is that enough to like really get your learning curve? Like, all right, I'm going to go out here and see this product. Okay, now I know that I bought this product. It sold for a profit. I have 20 other products I could buy. Then it might be a smart decision to go out and like ask for a partnership or some form of capital.
Yeah, for the learning curve, all you need is that just minimum $3,000 to $5,000 to get started. Obviously, if you open a couple accounts and you find some good products, they may have, and you'll maybe have $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000 worth of products to buy. That helps a little bit, but just for the sake of learning, you can start with that $2,000 to $3,000 minimum investment. And most people who want to start this business who have more than that 3 to 5, they don't need to, they need to have it on the sidelines. They don't need to buy day one, 10 grand, 20 grand, 50 grand worth of products. You need to put in the work. You need to build the infrastructure. You need to learn and understand the business. And then as you're opening accounts and you're finding more potential products to test, that's when it helps to have a little bit more of that buying power. But for the sake of learning, definitely the $2-3 grand minimum is more than enough to learn the business.
Gotcha. At what point did Gary Vee start noticing you? How did you get on the Gary Vee show?
So I don't know if he started noticing me more than I started noticing him. I mean, I started following him on Instagram. I started messaging him. I started interacting with him.
Did he instantly reply, or did you have to message him 100 times before he replied?
I think in those days he was probably getting less messages than he's getting now. So maybe it was a little easier then. I know I posted some stuff and he liked some of my Instagram pictures or commented on a couple of my early Instagram pictures. So perhaps he did notice me. But the way that I got on his show, it's not that he seeked me out, I don't think. But he was running a contest where he was basically giving away the opportunity for someone to shadow him for the day. And I was the lucky winner who won that opportunity. Now, whether it was random, whether he noticed my Instagram account and gave it to me on purpose, it would boost my ego to say that was it. But I genuinely don't know what it was. Could have been luck, could have been he noticed me, could have been a little bit of both. But yeah, at the end of the day, that's how that happened. I shadowed him. Met him personally maybe 2 or 3 times post that since.
You stole some of his shoes, right? You just kept them with his shoes.
So he had like these barter deals where he was like, hey, I'm putting out these shoes. If anyone buys X amount of cases, I'll owe you a favor, or you can come to one of my events, or we can do this, or we can do that. So I jumped on a couple of those barter deals where he had, where I bought some of his first K-Swiss shoes, ended up flipping them on eBay and Amazon for a slight loss. I don't think I actually made money on them. But
damn it, Gary, your shoes don't sell for a profit.
But the small break even or a small loss that I took on that that was worth the investment for me to strengthen that relationship with him or to go to meet him. And I did the same thing with his wine. I remember he had a barter deal for his wine, and I bought like 10 cases. I spent like $5,000 buying some of his empathy wine. And now he owes me a little bit of a favor that I have yet to cash in on.
Definitely. Yeah, that's awesome. So when starting out, like, let's say I want to get a piece of this wholesale pie. First of all, do I need a warehouse?
No.
Okay.
You don't need a warehouse. Once you get the ball rolling, obviously it's easier if you have a warehouse, but no one ever, unless they know really well what they're doing, should start the business with a warehouse if you're just starting out. Even myself, I was working out of an apartment. I was working out of the garage of a small house. So you don't need a warehouse. Once you get, 6 months into the business and you're scaling and you've proven the theory to yourself and you see what the possibilities are, then it for sure helps if you get your own space, because that is just going to push you and drive you more into the direction of success. But just starting out, I don't recommend anyone to have a warehouse up front, unless there is that special type of entrepreneurial personality type that is just not going to take no for an answer. They know they're going to succeed and they just have the balls to, take that initial dive into the water and start like that, but absolutely not necessary. And in the beginning, when I was starting, when we were working out of a small house, obviously, there are some suppliers that are going to diss you. There are some suppliers that are not going to send products to a residential area, for example. So you just take those rejections as they come. You work with what you can get as you're scaling out the business. And when you run out of space, or then when you feel it's the right time to move into a warehouse, then at that point, I absolutely recommend it.
Some wholesalers or some people that teach wholesale recommend prep centers. Do you recommend that at all? Do you think it's a viable option?
I think it is a viable option if your personality type is just, I don't want to deal with it, and I am okay with taking less of a profit and letting someone else handle it. I also think in the beginning, if someone is starting out, that prep center is a viable option in the beginning, because, for instance, if you're starting from zero and you go and you get a warehouse and you get an employee, your monthly expense is going to be, I don't know, let's say $2 to $3 grand for rent, $2 grand for an employee or whatever. You have to come up with $5 grand to pay the bills every month, even if you're selling 10 units. Now, if you don't want to work, it's a fixed expense. You have to pay that regardless. However, if you're starting out and you don't want to prep the products yourself, or you don't want to work out of your house, or if you want to have use a prep center and play it off as that's your warehouse because you don't want to deal with the rejection of people not wanting to sell to residential areas, then in the beginning, you could have a prep center, because the expenses for a prep center, they're not fixed. They're fluctuating. They're per unit. So if you're a new seller and you've only sold 50 units that first month and you're paying $1 unit prep, you don't have to pay the $3 grand rent for the warehouse. You're paying, they prep 50 units. It's $1 a unit. You have $50 expense. Next month, you sell 300 units through the prep center. If they charge you $1 a unit, your expenses are $300 a unit. At the same time, you're kind of playing it off, and when you're opening accounts, you're using that prep center address as your own commercial space. So it definitely helps in the beginning when you're scaling. It's a smart strategy in the beginning. Okay. The difference is at scale. So if you are doing, let's say, 20,000 units a month, and a prep center is charging you $1 a unit, or even a little bit less, they're going to charge you, just to keep the math simple, let's say $1 a unit, and you're moving 20,000 units a month, the prep center is going to charge you 20 grand. Whereas if you moved those 20,000 units through your own warehouses, the expense would be substantially less. Let's say you had, $4 grand for rent and $4 grand for employees, you're at 8,000 versus the 20 that the prep center would be at. So the reason why I don't have a prep center and prep most of my stuff myself, or have the supplier ship it directly for me to Amazon, it's just because it's going to be a lot cheaper. Like, we move like right around 40,000 plus units a month. And if a prep center was going to charge me, 75 cents, 60 cents, $1 a unit, like, I'm paying way less doing it myself.
How is it training people to prep and pack to Amazon? Is that pretty easy for wholesale? Do you have like SOPs written out where if someone comes, it's pretty easy? It's not like a huge pain to hire a new person.
It's not a huge pain. Like the thing that I think requires the most hand holding and the most babysitting. Someone who's prepping for Amazon needs to pay really good attention to detail because one of the most common complaints, especially when you're training someone new, is there are a lot of products that we deal with that look the same but are slightly different. And it's very easy to mislabel one product. You know, you're supposed to label a shampoo, but you have labels for a conditioner. They look almost identical. You slap the wrong label on the wrong product. So you need to really pay attention to detail and make sure you're prepping the right stuff. Aside from that, man, prepping is easy and piece of cake. And if the person isn't, just a complete idiot with a week or two of good training, they're good to go.
So when it comes to stuff like that, like little errors, because that's scary, like someone prepping a product wrong, and then maybe you get like an IP complaint, or maybe they say like, this isn't the product I thought, and your Amazon account gets shut down. How do you deal with that? Do you have one Amazon account? Because personally, I run, I don't know if you know restrictedinventory.com. It's like I run like one of the riskiest businesses out there. I sell everybody else's restricted products, specifically textbooks. So I have multiple accounts now. And the way I've done it is I framed it to where I'm like the account manager for the partners that have decided to partner with me. I'm just managing the account and I'm selling product on it. Because I'm never going to be in a situation where my account gets shut down and I'm screwed and I'm out of a paycheck for a month and a half. How do you deal with that?
So almost every single seller at scale has been suspended before. It's happened to me. It's happened to Scott Needham at Boxer. It's happened to the Amazon Lit guys, I believe. It's happened to pretty much everyone. It's just part of the business. Unless you're doing some like hardcore shady shit, it is. I've never really seen someone get their big account suspended and not get it back eventually. So unless you're like, unless you're doing something crazy or egregious, you don't have to worry about a permanent suspension. And then I know people like Scott Needham at Boxer, their account was down for like 2 or 3 weeks, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of lost revenue, and it is a big financial hit. And then you have employees and you have, 10 employees or you have 100 employees, and then your business is shut down and it can take 3 weeks. It can take a month. It can take a month and a half to get it back. And it's all part of the business. And then you have to kind of figure that out. What I have done for myself, for my own peace of mind, is I have multiple Amazon accounts where in case my business does get shut down and for whatever reason I can't get it back, I am 100% going to have a second account that I can just switch everything and start shipping everything without missing a beat to the other account, and have that kind of security for my family and my financial situation and my family's future. It might not be 100% up to Amazon's terms of standards, but that's the marketplace in which we live and in which we play. And just for me, and I'm not recommending this to everyone else, but just for me and my personal situation, I don't want to come into work one day and my one and only Amazon account is shut down. And now, for lack of a better term, and part of my French, I'm sucking dick for the next 6 weeks, not knowing what the hell is going on or how I'm getting my next paycheck. So I have.
You can say whatever the fuck you want on my channel, by the way.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. So I have multiple Amazon accounts. I also have the multiple Amazon accounts because genuinely the reason why I have 2 warehouses, and one of the big reasons why I have multiple Amazon accounts, is I genuinely have 2 different partners. I have a warehouse in Queens. I have a warehouse in Jersey. They're not related. They're not commingling. I have one partner who works full-time in Jersey. I have another partner who works here with me full-time in Queens. They are different businesses. Those 2 guys don't have anything to do with each other. So they are legitimately 2 separate companies. The only thing that they have in common is I am a partner in this business and I am a partner in that business. So legally they're different businesses and they should and do have their own Amazon accounts. That being said, though, I would always have that Amazon account just as a backup ready to go. Now, it doesn't mean you need to operate multiple accounts simultaneously, but if you have an account, it's a good backup plan or a good safety net just to have the other Amazon account opened, verified, ungated in a couple of categories, and just ready to go should the unfortunate circumstance arise that you need it.
Gotcha. So I have some more specific questions here regarding like buy box, pricing, different things, questions from Rick and Profit, my roommate, and then Jameson Philippi. I don't know if you know him or not. He does a lot of retail arbitrage. But before we go into that, I want to ask your opinion because you said you had 2 partners. What do you look for in a partner, like personality traits, business experience, how much capital they're going to put up, like what percent split are you guys going to do? Like what tips do you have to someone who's, younger like me, and I'm just now getting into different partnerships? What before you even sit down at the table and hash these things out, like what should you be looking for in the other person?
I mean, it's a touchy subject, and I would advise, unless you have that really, really good friend that you know is going to hustle just as hard as you and is on that same page and that same wavelength as you, I don't advise anyone to go out there and looking for a partner, or, unless you absolutely need it, unless you absolutely need the capital and you have no other way of getting it. One of the more common messages I get is, hey, I have someone willing to put up the capital, and I want to, they want a piece of the business. It's always better to get a business line of credit, put money on a credit card, do all that kind of stuff before you give anybody equity. If someone does want to come in as a partner, I prefer it to be perhaps a close friend, or I prefer it to be someone who is going to be a working partner. So not only someone that's going to say, hey, Romer, I'm just going to cut you a check, you do everything, and then you're enslaved to me for the rest of your life. Give me a check at the end of the day and I do nothing. It's better to have a working partner that's going to work in the business with you. And it's hard to give partnerships advice because, everybody's personal situation is different. I took on a partner for 2 very different reasons. I took on a partner, one in which I had, $50, $60, $70,000 worth of great products to buy, and I didn't have the loot to buy it. So one of my best friends, one of my childhood friends said, listen, I'll work just as hard as you. I'll put up all the capital. We'll split everything 50-50. Let's get this business going. At that time, that made sense to me. And I just ran with it. But it's tough to give advice for partnerships. If you need funding, and like your credit is good and your business is a little established, there's probably easier ways for you to get some sort of funding that doesn't require you giving up an equity piece of your business. Because someone's going to write you that $10, $20, $30,000 check, and then if you make your business a success and you're working for the next 6 to 7 years on it, and you're just constantly writing that person a check every single month for eternity just because they gave you that 20 grand one time to start, it's not the best thing.
Exactly. Yeah, especially because this seems like more like a clear-cut business model versus like a startup where you're creating a brand, and there's massive potential for growth in wholesale, but with the brand, it's like if you do the work in wholesale, it seems like you're going to make it work. But like you said, like you could, it's every business is hard, but it seems different. Like that seems like the thing that people do with small startups is you invest and it has a potential to like explode into a giant brand.
Well, wholesale is very, very work intensive. There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of positions to fill. It's definitely not the easiest thing for a one-man show to do. So the only advice that I would give to partnerships is, if you're going to take on a partner, make sure it's someone who's going to be a working partner. Make sure it's someone who's going to put in as much work as you. And that's easier said than done, because even if 2 people, agree that they're both going to work hard, one of the things that I find often happens is you're maybe working a little harder than your partner is working. There starts then to be a little bit of a resentment. We're building this business. I'm working at a level 10. This guy's working at a level 7, but we're 50-50 partners. Resentment starts to seep in. A little bit of drama starts to seep in. So, partnerships are not ideal or the best, and it's hard to give just broad-based advice on that level. But that's why I said earlier, just make sure that the person is on the same wavelength as you and on the same page.
What about taking someone's money and investing it all into one ASIN and say, hey, look, you're going to give me 100 grand. I know this ASIN works. I know these 20 ASINs work. You're going to get X% of the profits. Do people do that? Is that a recommended strategy?
It's definitely not a recommended strategy. However, everything in this business is on a case-by-case basis. So if you even came to me, like, when we got off this call and said, listen, Larry, I have this one product. I know it very, very well. The research is solid. We can move 200 grand of this product over the next 2 months and we'll make a 20% net profit. I just need the 200 grand to buy it on a case-by-case basis. Maybe that's something that I would consider, but it's hard to give, broad-based advice on that.
Gotcha. Because that way you're
And
not
if you are taking money from someone, it is always better to pay them back and give them a little bit of a percentage on their money, as opposed to they gave you their money and now they own, 10, 20, 30% of your business for life.
Makes sense. Makes sense. All right, guys, if you have questions, go ahead and comment them. I'm going to go into a couple of questions that I've written down from Instagram, my roommates, Facebook, and some other people. We'll answer, as long as Larry's okay with it, we'll answer every question here. We don't have too many. And so let's get into this, guys. What is this buy box issue? I don't really know too much about the buy box issue. What is it, and how can wholesalers get past it? That's a question from Rake and Profit.
I have a good video on this that I posted to my YouTube channel not too long ago, talking about the quote unquote buy box glitch. Initially we called it a glitch, but I don't really think it's a glitch. What I think it is Amazon has been so busy and so overwhelmed in all of their departments since the coronavirus pandemic started to happen, and just sales on Amazon have gone, through the roof. And you can see how backed up Amazon is by a lot of different factors. If you have open cases with Amazon, they're taking longer to respond. If you're trying to get ungated or approval, they're taking longer to respond. If your account has been suspended and you're trying to work that out, seller performance is taking longer to respond. If you're shipping products into Amazon, and that's taking longer to get there. There's massive delays. There's inventory restrictions and limits right now to how much you can send into a warehouse of a unit because Amazon is so backed up. So I think what Amazon is doing is I think they are tweaking the algorithm and experimenting with different things that they can do with it. And this is just guessing on my part. No one besides for Amazon really knows for sure. But what I think is happening is I think if there are 10 sellers on the listing, all the same price, all the sellers are relatively equal, but one person has all of their units in a New York warehouse, the other person has all of their units in a California warehouse, and the California warehouse is very backed up, and Amazon wants to clear that warehouse out and make some room. They're going to lock the buy box into the seller that has all his units at the California warehouse, for example. And then the other 9 sellers are going to be like, well, normally we would rotate and we would get a piece, but now it's been 3 weeks and this guy's in the buy box and we can't get the buy box no matter what we're doing. And that's kind of what I think is happening. And I expect it to continue to happen throughout Q4. But what can a seller do is just continue to send in your products as expected. Eventually the sales will come. If you're in a cash flow crunch and you need to pay rent, you need to pay bills, and you have products that you are sitting on and you just need to liquidate them because you don't care about the profit, you just need the loot, then I would suggest in that dire circumstance, you cut the price by maybe $1 or $2 or $3 to really undercut the buy box and try to, sell your products at a small loss or at a break even or at a little profit to try to generate some. If you're in a bind and you're not selling at all and you really desperately need those fundage, otherwise just stay patient and just wait. And I think the key to success in this business, Romer, is there are going to be so many issues that come up as an Amazon seller. They're going to come every quarter, every 2 quarters. It's going to be something new. And always you have to just kind of figure it out, wait it out, adjust, pivot, get on with it, move on with it, survive, and make it to the next issue. And if you do that long enough, you'll start to get success on Amazon. The quote unquote buy box glitch, in my opinion, is just another one of these issues. I'm sure in Q4, there'll be a different issue. Next year, there'll be another issue. Just survive, be patient, be smart, and yeah, eventually it will all blow over. As far as what I tell people, if you're testing new products, so if you have new SKUs and you want to test them out, like one of the things that I advise the students in the Wholesale Academy to do is when you find the new product, don't necessarily go all in. Test that product, with 12 or 24 units. Now I'm seeing Amazon factor into its buy box rotation how much stock you have, and if someone has 100 or 200 units versus someone that has 10 or 20 units, you might be getting less buy box if you have very little inventory. So if you're confident in your research and you're testing some new products, maybe step up the quantities a little bit, but just be patient, be competitive. Use a repricer, always make sure you're in that buy box range, and eventually I think you will get some of that rotation.
Gotcha. So when it comes to like realizing these things, I'm sure you just realize it because it happens. You're like, oh, what's going on? Like these sales on this ASIN are going down. Amazon's not putting like in their terms of service, we're going to rotate the buy box. They never said that, right?
You know how I realize, I'm sorry for cutting you off, dude. You know how I realize this issue and every other issue? Because Amazon doesn't tell you. Most of the time, I'm not the first person to see it on my Amazon account. Most of the time, I am kept abreast of all the stuff that's happening by interacting and actively participating in the Amazon Facebook groups and with other sellers. And that's how you are on the forefront of everything that's happening. And that's how you become one of the first people to know. And that's how you can make these adjustments. And then if you're actively participating in these communities and, you encounter some kind of an issue that you don't know how to figure out, that's when, again, you go back to the well and you see what other sellers are doing and you try to piece it all together, and it'll definitely help you.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right. I want to ask you about that service. I don't know if you created it, but it's about looking for refunds or not refunds, looking for lost items that Amazon lost and you get reimbursed. Was that something you created, or was that
no, it's actually Scott Needham's company. It's
okay.
Veriship. He actually sold it to Veriship, and it's not just lost items. It's a reimbursement service where and they're going to, a lot of times Amazon loses your products at their warehouse, and then they should technically reimburse you for it. But a lot of times they forget and you're owed money. And a big part of this business is actually staying on top of everything and, dealing and fighting and clawing with Amazon to get back every red cent that you're owed. Because I'm sure obviously in their favor, a lot of times they forget to, reimburse you. But it's not just lost items. A lot of times they damage an item and they're supposed to reimburse you, and they don't. A lot of times you sell an item and the FBA fee is off and they're supposed to reimburse you for that. And if you don't ask for it, they don't. A lot of times you ship an item to a customer, the customer requests a refund, Amazon gives him the refund. He is now supposed to send back that item. It's supposed to come back to you in sellable condition. A lot of times it doesn't. Amazon is supposed to give you that reimbursement, and oftentimes they don't. So there's maybe 20 different scenarios in which Amazon would owe you money. And if you're just not staying on top of it, it's a very difficult to keep track of everything.
How does that work? Do they take a cut of the profits? Let's say they get you back $1,000. Do they take 300, or is it
they take a cut of the profits? I believe the regular rate is they take 25% of every dollar they get back. In my Instagram bio, I have a link to it where you guys can get a discounted rate. I believe it's 22 or 24%. But it shows
that below too for everybody.
Yeah, you just let them handle it. Some people bring in a team of VAs or prefer to do it in-house. I just prefer to use a service like that. It's automated. I don't have to do everything. And every month you're just getting money and they're taking their cut, and it is what it is.
Yeah. I'm not even going to lie. I've actually thought about making a service like that because, I run restricted inventory. I'm already working with so many sellers, and so are you. You have a huge seller audience. It's like, who knows how hard it would be to build something like that. But I work with virtual assistants all day, and I'm like, I put my virtual assistant on my account. And I was like, I sent them this big long article of all the different ways that Amazon lost things or owes you money. And I was like, dude, go in my account and find all of this. And we got reimbursed probably over $1,000, just like that. And I was using Refunds Manager. So I was like, if there's $1,000 on top of what Refunds Manager already did, Refunds Manager is probably just looking for the lowest hanging fruit, whatever they could get, $300 back on, and not worry about, the $20 or $10 here and there. So it's definitely been something on my mind. When I sit down and think of ideas, I just think of 1,000 things I could do. And then I have to be like, all right, we're just going to focus on this one thing instead of going 1,000.
It's tough to do them all. I mean, I get into that thing where I kind of bite off more than I can chew oftentimes and have 100 different ideas, and I have multiple Amazon businesses, and I have Watch Me Amazon, and I have Wholesale Academy, and I want to launch a software, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. There's only so much one person can do,
Yeah. I will say it seems like, just from like an outside perspective, I can tell you think about things before you take action on them, because all your content is like very good. Even like your older content, it was like you sat down, figured it out, and then you did it. Whereas I feel like I'm the opposite. Like I just do it, and I'm just like, I'll make like really bad, shitty YouTube videos of me just like shitty connection in my garage when I was living at my parents' house, and I'll just do that for a year before I adapt. But I looked back at your content, I was like, wow, this guy he figured it out from day one.
Don't follow me though. Real talk. I think you're doing it the right way and I'm doing it the wrong way, because I think the key to growing on social media is posting a lot. Posting a lot more for sure than I post. I've been on YouTube, I think now for over 2 years. I have maybe like 20 something videos, but the way people really grow is posting, 2-3 times a day, making 2-3 YouTube videos a week. For me, I'm just one of those people where content doesn't come that easily to me. I don't know. I just can't figure out. I can't make 2-3 different YouTube videos a week. When I do mine, they're like super thought out. A lot of them are scripted. I put a lot of thought and effort into it, but that's to my detriment. I honestly think someone who's able to just bang out 2, 3, 4 YouTube, videos at a clip the way you've been able to do, I think in the long run, that will get you further, Like I look at my social media and I look at my YouTube channel, and if I was the type of person that can just pump out 2-3 YouTube videos a week, 2-3 Instagram posts a day, I think the Watch Me Amazon, channel should have, 3, 4, 500 subscribers, 1,000 subscribers at this point. I think I should have 200,000-300,000 Instagram followers at this point. And I think, part of that reason is because I am overly anal, and, sometimes don't like to hear the sound of my own voice talking. And, it doesn't come super easy to me.
It's always so interesting hearing people say that, because you come off as like so confident, like you would never have those thoughts.
Because you don't see the 300 takes that I have to scrap and restart making a video. That's why they're so.
Hey, this is one take right here. You're good.
I got to get better. I got to, for sure. One of my goals for the rest of the year and for next year is to step up my content game. But I think if you're trying to build an audience, like you are and like I am, I think we got to take advice from people who know how to do it, and like from the Gary Vee, and definitely posting more often than not, and worrying less about perfection and how great every video is. I think that's more the right way to do it than just have like a video once a month like I do.
Yeah. My thought process behind it is I literally make a video sometimes just to practice, because I look at Gary Vee, or even someone like you who's very well spoken, but like Gary Vee, so charismatic. I'm like, all right, he's so charismatic. How can I compete with that? Like, A, I could not post, or B, I could post and practice. And like, okay, I'm not charismatic. Fuck it. I'm gonna keep practicing until I become, more well spoken, more charismatic. And so I look at it as like a volume game. And sometimes I get caught up in my head. I'm like, I'm not producing the best content, blah blah blah, and I'll like go silent for a couple weeks. But I really look at this as a skill, being able to articulate yourself. And even like in conversation, just like talking to people more, like picking up the phone, calling people and talking to them, trying to close deals, like working on your closing skills, your sales skills, like copy, like all of this comes out. And you're not going to get better at it if you don't practice it. It's something you have to go out and practice over and over and over again. It's uncomfortable.
Speed is definitely in this regard better than perfection. Speed and just putting out more content and being more consistent with it is definitely better than perfection.
How does this affect, like, how many cold calls were you doing like at the peak, and did you enjoy doing them, or was it more of a grind for you?
It was a little bit of both. I did enjoy it, and it was also a grind. I didn't really track it, so it's tough to give you a number, but I mean, just as many as possible.
That's for me, like that would be very hard for me to pick up the phone, and especially at the beginning, just get rejected over and over again. But I'm sure you got to the point where you had a pretty good sales pitch to where it was smooth.
Yeah, so one of the things that I use to my benefit, so before I was in the Amazon space, I was a stockbroker from about 21, 22 years of age. And that business was all about cold calling and, pitching and doing sales presentations to people over the phone and dialing a lot. And it was a legit numbers game. The more numbers you dial, the more leads you're going to get. The more leads you're going to get, the more presentations or sales pitches you're going to throw off. And the more pitches you throw off, the more closer you are to getting that one yes. And definitely all the years of selling via the telephone and building relationships and being in sales like that has helped me in terms of just talking and selling people a little bit.
Gotcha. In terms of being on the phone, talking to people and closing people, I'm actually considering doing that for a couple of my businesses. One, I sell courses, so I've toyed with the idea of having a phone call to a close, and also in my book business, I want to start cold calling or have a team cold call colleges, libraries, places with books, thrift stores, and convince them to send books to me. What advice would you have on the phone? Is there like a kind of like a general script you have for example, for like a YouTube video, like you want to hook them instantly, and then you want to go into the content, and then at the end you have a call to action. For like a phone call, what would you say like the general structure is for getting what you want from someone, whether that was you being a stockbroker? Is that what you were, a stockbroker?
Yep.
Or you being Watch Me Amazon, or you calling up wholesalers? What advice would you have?
To build relationships. Always leave everything open-ended and build relationships. And a lot of time in sales, be it whether you're trying to persuade someone to open a wholesale account with you, or whether you're, doing telephone sales or telemarketing or selling a high ticket product, most of the time the close doesn't come on the first sale. Most of the sales that I made, it was on the second, on the third, on the fourth. So just, keep building that relationship.
Gotcha. That's good advice. And would you like reach out to them like via email, or would you just keep calling them, or try to warm them up? How would you try to warm them
So usually the way we did it, we would send an email to open an account. If they don't respond, then we would try with a phone call. If they don't respond, we would go back to an email and just back and forth.
up? Okay.
In terms of opening wholesale accounts on Amazon, our structure is more initial through an email. And then if they send back an application or something like that, we typically like to follow it up with a phone call. But either myself or one of my partners have what we call a schmooze call, where we just get on the phone with our new sales rep or with whoever our contact is over at the company, and just tell them a little bit about ourselves, our business, the reselling business in general, how we need discounts to make the business work, and the more discounts they can give us, the more we will buy from them, and just kind of just lay the foundation for the future of our business.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Speaking of that, do you try and provide value? Because like I said, my roommate, he's just not getting into wholesale. And like the one thing he said was like that he's learning about the approach that he's taking is you call the brand up, or you call the supplier up, and you try to provide value rather than just like asking for connection or a sale. So do you try to provide value? And if so, how do you try and provide value?
So you usually, when we just try to open an account, it's just a general, hey, we found your company online. We are a seller of such and such products. We're interested in opening a wholesale account with you. Here is my resale certificate. Here's my business license. Please let me know how I can open an account with you. And it's just very simple and straight to the point. The providing value and the relationship building is more if you get a rejection, and then the best way to overcome those rejections. There's no like one magic sentence that you're going to say to someone, or no, 1 minute sales pitch that you're going to give someone that is going to turn them around from saying, no, we don't work with Amazon sellers, to yes, we do. But it's more of just providing value over X amount of weeks or X amount of months, staying in touch with the person, realizing that the person that you are talking to on the other end of the phone isn't like a robot, is an actual person, asking them about their day, making small talk, just little stuff like that to build a genuine rapport with someone. And when it comes to actually providing value, one of the things that we do is a full analyzation of their products, of their brands on Amazon, if it's a brand owner and not a distributor, and just kind of give them, our ideas or our input on where they're kind of lacking compared to some of their competitors, where they can make improvements. Maybe their keywords, maybe their images, maybe their titles need to be better. Maybe their fulfillment or something that they're doing needs to be better. And even if they're saying, no, we won't work with you, just keeping the lines of communication open, calling them up every month and a half, saying, here, I found this about your listing. I think this will really improve your listing. I sent you a report via email about some things that I think will help you guys out. Take a look at it. No problem. We don't have to do anything right now. I'll follow up with you in a couple of months. If you have an opening for another Amazon seller, then maybe you'll consider me then. Following up in 6 to 8 weeks, touching base again, keeping the relationship open. And then oftentimes what I found will happen is if you get dissed on the first, second, fifth phone call, maybe 3, 4, 5, 8 months from now, when they are taking on a new seller or where they're removing one of their sellers and bringing someone else on board, they'll reach out to you or they'll be more open to working with you. So the way we, a lot of these gatekeepers or brand owners who are against working with Amazon sellers have walls up. And the way we break those walls down is just by building a relationship, staying in touch, and providing value over time, never on just the one phone call, but over time, all the time, over and over and over and over again, to when you're on the 20th call with them, 8 months down the road, you guys are having a little laugh and, they already know you, Romer, and, they're looking forward to speaking with you. And then it puts them in a better position to say yes eventually.
Gotcha. Makes sense. I got a question from Jameson. He's asking, how are you dealing with pricing errors where inventory is getting stranded? He said he's a retail arbitrage guy, and he says he's really dealing with that lately. A lot of listings are going stranded because he either priced too low or a little bit too high. And he said it's actually the price he wants to price it at. He wants to price it at the lower price, or he wants to price it at the higher price to wait out, but it's going stranded for whatever reason. Are you noticing that?
There's no right or wrong answer. I am noticing that. It's every day we log in. There are probably 20 to 30 products per each one of our accounts that has the fixed pricing error that we need to adjust. And I'm just having one of our team members every day on the daily go into that category, select the right minimum price and maximum price for that product, approve it, relist it. That usually takes care of it for us. The issue that we're having is we'll check it tomorrow. There will be a whole bunch of different products. So we're just having someone stay on top of it daily. It's going to say, these products were delisted or stranded due to a potential pricing error. Please enter your minimum or your maximum price. We enter that, we relist them. And then every day there's like maybe 10 or 20 new products. So we just have someone stay on top of them once a day or even twice a day, check them, relist them, refresh them. And yeah, you just have to keep up with it daily, unfortunately.
Do you use virtual assistants at all, or are these all Americans?
I do know we use virtual assistants. Some of them are from overseas. Some of them are from the Philippines. Some of them are from the Ukraine.
Gotcha. I've realized virtual assistants from the Philippines are oftentimes better workers than Americans.
True.
In terms of work ethic and even just like consistency and skill and integrity.
True.
All right, we got a couple people in here. We got Rake and Profit. We got Dylan Samo. We got a Facebook user. Doesn't show me the Facebook users, by the way. We're also live in my Facebook group right now. We got Junkman. He says, hey, what's up? Buy low, sell high. And says, I've learned so much from social media and fellow resellers. So many amazing people out there.
True.
Don says, is there a way to ship 40 pounds to Europe that doesn't cost a fortune?
No. If you're shipping from US to international Amazon FBA, the business model only makes sense when you are shipping multiple pallets because shipping is expensive. If you're going to ship, a couple of boxes, it's going to be too expensive, and it presumably is going to eat up any sort of profit that you would have.
Yeah.
Of course, there might be some exception to the rule if you have some incredibly high margin product. But yeah, there's no cheap way to ship a 40-pound box to Europe without it, eating up most of the profit.
Gotcha. You better be shipping something very expensive if you plan on making profit on a 40-pound box to Europe.
To do the US to UK business model, you need to do at least a couple of pallets at the minimum to make it make sense.
Okay. Louis says you should have had those shoes signed. They were signed, weren't they?
One of the pairs was signed that I kept.
At the bottom of the shoe, did he sign the bottom of the shoe? Like I have a shoe.
No, that was a fake signature. I wasn't like a real signature.
Okay. That's not real. I can't sell these when I'm 80 years old.
No.
All right. Ruined my day. Facebook user coming in with money signs. Someone saying roaming Rome. Appreciate that. Thanks for being real. We got Louis says you need my affiliate link. Nope. Go to Watch Me Amazon's profile and use his affiliate link because he's the one dropping the value.
That's right. Now, if you don't want to use my affiliate link, I believe their website is veraship.com. They're going to take 25% of all money they get back for you. But if you want to save a little bit on that 25%, I do have a discounted link.
We'll put his link below in the description. So if you guys want to use his affiliate link, it's going to be below during the replay. All right, that's it for questions on here. Someone was asking on Instagram, someone brought up that you were doing the 75-day challenge or whatever that's called. We were talking briefly.
75 hard and sell a challenge, yep.
You want to talk a little bit about that? Because that's really cool. I gave up drinking for 6 months when I first moved to Miami, and I think it's really cool to have these goals. I think the 75-day challenge, you're doing several things at once, right? You're not just doing a workout or workout diet. You're bringing different variables in.
So what the 75 hard challenge consists of is 2 workouts per day for 75 days straight. One of them has to be outdoors, no matter what the weather condition. If it's hailing, if it's pouring, got to do it outdoors. Got to read 10 pages of a nonfiction self-help book every single day for 75 days straight. Got to drink a full gallon of water every single day for 75 days straight without skipping a beat. Got to follow a diet, whatever diet works for you, with no cheat meals for 75 days straight. And then got to take a progress picture every day. And although it sounds like a physical challenge, the challenge is more intended to be a mental toughness challenge and a mental fortitude challenge. And, one of the things that I can share, even at my level of success, I feel I am not often operating to the best of my ability. I feel sometimes that I am not always giving 100% of myself, that I can be more on point, more dialed in, more focused, more organized. And I wanted to kind of do that challenge to mentally make me more of a killer than I already am, to be the truth with you guys. Obviously, the benefits of getting in great shape, that helps, but it is, not really a workout challenge. It is more of a mental toughness challenge to kind of mentally get you dialed in and make you as mentally tough and mentally resilient as one could hope to be. I got about 45, 50 days into the challenge where I made a little bit of a mistake on day 45 or so. And what that means is if you're not going to cheat, you have to start back from day one. So right now, currently, I'm not on the challenge. Got 45 days in, failed it. Before that, got like 20 something days in, failed it. My wife was like, listen, you forgot to take the progress picture. It's not really a big deal. Just keep going. But at that point, you're really not lying to anyone.
Do you have to post a progress picture, or is it just you take it?
No, you don't have to post it. You just have to take it. But yeah, it's like little things like that. Like someone would say, oh, okay, big deal. So you forgot to take a picture. But oftentimes, us as people, we push aside the little simple tasks that we maybe take for granted and don't get done or don't do the things that we need to get done. And I think that challenge kind of helps bring all of that to the forefront, makes you plan better, makes you get your priorities straight. And I just kind of wanted a little bit of a boost mentally from where I was. And even though I didn't finish, it helped me a great deal. And even though I'm taking 1 or 2 weeks off, I will soon be back on the challenge starting from day one and hopefully get to
That's awesome. So it's 2 workouts per day. And one has to be outside. Is it any workout you want and what duration?
Yeah, as long as it's like a real workout, 2 45-minute workouts.
2:45. Okay, 45 minutes. I'm actually going to commit to doing this right now. I'm going to chop this piece of content. I'm going to share it with Instagram.
So Andy Frisella has a podcast or like a YouTube video or something like that. Like if you Google Andy Frisella 75 Hard, he has a couple of episodes where he talks about exactly what this challenge is, who it's for, what it's intended to do. And that dude is a lot more eloquent than I am and can explain it a heck of a lot better than I can to really drive home.
I'm going to post this on social media and I'm going to update people. I'm going to post my progress picture probably every day.
If you basically want to be operating at 100% of your potential and be super focused and super dialed in, and not physically, but mentally in the best place of your life, the strongest mental fortitude place of your life, I think that's a hell of a way to do it.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's exciting. I've always wanted to drink a full gallon of water a day. Like I keep telling myself I should be drinking a full gallon of water, and like all I've had today is like this decaf coffee. And then it's like one of those things. It's like, it's so simple. There you go. It's so simple that to not do it, you're an idiot to not do it, but I'm still not doing it. So I like this because it forces you to do it. And if you don't do it, then you're a hypocrite and you have to start over back at day one. We got Mike in here. He's saying, awesome live today, guys. Larry's the best mentor you can ask for in the Wholesale Academy. Private Academy call tonight is going to be fire. You want to talk a little bit about what the Wholesale Academy is and why you came up with it and like what's really in it?
Yeah, so the Wholesale Academy is my Amazon wholesale training program. It is designed for everyone from the new seller who doesn't know a single thing about Amazon wholesale to anyone who is a 6 or 7 or even 8-figure seller. We have some 6, 7, and 8-figure sellers in the program that all can attest that they have gotten some value from it. Aside from just being a course, and in my opinion, I know I'm biased, but I do think that it's the best Amazon wholesale course out there. But aside from just being a deep, rich course, what it really is more of a support system. So it is a course, it comes with a course, but then it also comes with a support system, a support network, which I think is more important to the long-term success of anyone on Amazon. So the course is going to teach you everything that you need to know from A to Z to get started, to run your business, all the things I do. But then once you're actually selling and in the business, you need a daily, weekly support system that's going to help you out 2 weeks from now, 2 months from now, 2 years from now. And that is exactly what we offer in the Wholesale Academy program. So it comes with a course, but it also comes with the private mastermind community. There are about 800 plus super hungry, super engaged Amazon sellers in there that are all helping each other. We do live coaching calls in this type of setup, on Zoom every week or every 2 weeks. And we try to give people a really solid course, but then more importantly, we try to give them the support that they need once they're actually selling and running and growing their business in perpetuity. And that's what the Wholesale Academy is.
Awesome. Yeah, you're making me want to enroll in it now. My mind just going like, I got 1,000 different things to do. And I'm like, yep, wholesale. Let's do wholesale right now.
Wholesale it's a serious commitment as far as time. It's not super complicated, but there is a heavy workload and it does take a lot of time. People do it successfully to some extent as a side hustle, as a part-time business. But like anything in life, if you're going to do part-time hours, part-time effort, you're going to get part-time results. Right. part-time results are fine for some people, but if you're looking to build a 7 or an 8-figure Amazon business, or even a 6-figure Amazon business, most of the time that requires a full-time commitment.
Right. And I have listers all over America for restrictedinventory.com. So I have one in Vegas, one in North Florida, and a couple in Nashville. So some of them ship pallets of books. So I've thought about, if I can find just the cream of the crop, the best products to sell, I could ship a couple pallets to them, have them pack them up and ship them out, the next week. Do you think that's doing too much, or should I niche down on books, or do you think it's like a viable option for me to supplement income?
Well, I don't know exactly how your business model runs, but you mentioned that you would ship products to other people and then they would ship them to Amazon.
So okay, booksellers can't sell textbooks, and I sell their textbooks for them. So they ship me their textbooks. We pack them up, palletize them, and ship them to my Amazon FBA account. And so what I would do with wholesale is just get the product and list it on my account.
How much effort and how much workload are you putting in when you're getting all these books come to you from all over the country, and then you have to label, prep, and ship them to Amazon?
What do you mean effort?
Like I'm saying, how much work is that? Like, are people sending you books all the time and you're getting like a ton of work?
Yeah, they're getting a ton. But sometimes what happens is, we're getting better at tracking this, but I have a couple part-time workers and I have 2 full-time, but sometimes people are like, send me more. Like, I need more. And I'm like, I can't control the volume, and during that scenario, it'd be nice if I had like 5 ASINs where I was like, okay, we're going to ship you a pallet of Barbie dolls, or we're going to ship you a pallet of cleaning supplies, whatever, and have them, pack it. And also another thing is, like, I want a piece of this Q4 pie eventually, because Q4 every year, I have August, which is always huge, and I have January, which is always huge. But then there's kind of like this down period where I'm not selling textbooks. So I would like to have, something in Q4 that keeps those sales high.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned prep centers earlier in this call. I know that books, they kind of sell one-off, and it's not like you have that one book that's just being replenished, but the profits on books are fairly nice if you can figure out how to work a prep center into the mix, where they're just sending everything to the prep center, and the prep center is taking $1 to receive and label and ship and do everything for you, and you don't have to touch a single thing, and the prep center gets their buck and you get everything else. That might be a good avenue to pursue.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I appreciate you coming on, man. And I appreciate you dropping all that knowledge in here. Let's see if we got any more comments. We got water is better with the electrolytes, sodium, magnesium. Yeah, that is one thing you got to watch out for, drinking a lot of water. Make sure you're getting your electrolytes too. Someone says your smile. I don't know if they're talking about my smile or your smile, but somebody. She's flirting. All right. Well, that's it, guys. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Thank you so much for coming on, Larry. And we'll chat. See ya.
Thanks, man. Take care, everyone.
Grind hard, well done, sir. And welcome to the freaking Well Show.